Welcome back to another episode of Life in the Sands podcast. We have Jake and Zach on the podcast today. Want to take some time right away to thank everyone for 1,000 TikTok subs, over 100K likes, and over 250 subscribers on YouTube. Really appreciate everyone's support. Thanks again for watching and listening. And remember to comment, subscribe, and share with friends. So, with that, we have an exciting episode to get into today. It's week one of the NFL season, so we have to talk about Super Bowl predictions, even though predicting this is obviously a little bit asinine at this point, right? It's not worth it, because by the time the Super Bowl comes around, all these predictions will probably look really bad. So if anyone does cut up these predictions and then try to make us look back 5 months later, just please temper expectations a little bit as we make these predictions. So we're going to do some Super Bowl predictions. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're also going to do a WNBA rapid fire segment. You've seen us do that for the NFL and the NBA. We're excited to jump in and do that with the WNBA. And then we're also bringing back Player of the Week, which Bender will jump into to round out the episode. So with that, Bender, we haven't talked about our Super Bowl predictions yet at all off camera either. So I'm excited to hear what you're going to say here. Who do you think wins it all in the NFL this year?
So we're gonna talk crazy with my prediction, assuming health, assuming contracts, assuming everything is in perfect standing order. Timing is everything, right? So again, please don't make fun of us 5 months down the line.
I don't like where
Um,
this is going already, though.
yeah, no, you won't. You don't like anything I say to begin with. So we're gonna start in the NFC. I think the Detroit Lions go to the Super Bowl this year. I mentioned that last episode as well, or at least alluded to it a little bit. Their team is very well put together. There's a lot of other teams in that conference that have question marks, like are the Green Bay Packers for real? Was that last little segment at the end a fluke or not? The Niners and all their random minor injuries and contract situations. The Eagles and new offensive coordinator. Saquon's there, so Saquon could have the same impact that McCaffrey had for the Niners. You never know. That'd be kind of terrible to see, in my opinion, because I'm a Cowboys fan, but we live with it. Thank you, New York Giants, for being one of the worst franchises ever. But with that said, the Lions have not really had any issues. They extended St. Brown in the offseason. Goff is there to stay. Gibbs seems like he's going to be the guy eventually, but Montgomery was just as well for them last year in that committee that they had. So the Lions, to me, are the steadiest team, which is why I'm going with them. Now, here's where I'm going to have some fun with it. So we just watched the Ravens and Chiefs game. We saw how that panned out. The Chiefs are the real deal still. The Ravens can give them a fight, but have not really seen them come out on top at this moment in time. I think Lamar's 1-5 against them in his career. So that's not a good look for them. But I don't even think they'll reach the Chiefs in the playoffs unless it's first round, because I actually have the Bengals going through both the Ravens and the Chiefs, which is where I'm going to go crazy with my prediction. Joey B is the only guy outside of Tom Brady that has beaten Patrick Mahomes. They're going to have the same kind of core together besides their running back crew, which I believe in the young kid Chase Brown, along with what Zach Moss did last year. I know it's not a top tier name, but I do think they'll figure that out. Um, we usually have question marks about the Bengals to start the year. And again, we still have question marks to start the year, especially with the receiving crew. But right now, I'm not really worried long term. And I have Bengals versus Lions. I'm gonna let you say your prediction first before I give a winner.
All right. I do like those predictions, and I won't waste too much time on the NFC side of things because I did pick the Lions as well out of the NFC. And I went back and forth a lot on this actually, because a lot of really talented predictors in the NFL landscape have taken the Packers in the Super Bowl, including Peter Schrager. And if you know about Peter Schrager, the man has predicted the last five Super Bowl winners correctly. And his Super Bowl prediction this year is Chiefs over Packers,
Which is possible.
which is possible, right? So I went back and forth a lot, and I've been a bigger fan of the Packers young core, I think, than you have been so far this offseason. I
Yeah.
think you're wanting to see a little bit more, whereas I'm of the belief that I think I have seen enough. Like I think they're legit. So I went back and forth between Packers and Lions a lot, but I did take Lions. I also like the fact that, like you said, like they're steady. They lost to the Niners in the NFC chip last year, but if you put those two teams, everything that's happening in the offseason, everything that's going on now back in the NFC championship again this year, I think the Lions win that game. So I like the Lions coming out of the NFC. On the AFC side of things, I don't mind the Bengals. And I don't mind the Bengals because I do feel like they're the forgotten contender in the AFC. Like everybody talks a lot about the Bills, talk a lot about the Dolphins, talk a lot about the Chiefs, talk a lot about the Ravens, talk a lot about the Texans. But like the Bengals feel like they're the forgotten team. They went 9-8 last year with Joe Burrow basically playing none of the season.
Yep.
Like as long as you can figure out some of that contract stuff, obviously with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, it's gonna be interesting. But like you said, I don't really have a concern long term. And if you're looking at QBs that can stack up with Mahomes, it makes sense that Burrow is the guy that you're kind of tipping your hat to and saying, I have more faith in him than anyone else. I just still think Patrick Mahomes is king and is not going to give up that throne yet. It's hard to it's hard to pick against the Chiefs. It's really hard for me to pick against the Chiefs, and I was that way last year as well. The whole time up through the Super Bowl run, the whole time through the postseason, I was a Chiefs guy just because I'm again, I said it last year, until somebody unseats Patrick Mahomes and somebody does it in the postseason, I'm going to keep making that bet. I'm going to keep doing it. So
But
that's what I have. I have Chiefs and Lions Super Bowl prediction.
but Joe Burrow has beaten Mahomes in the playoffs before.
He did.
So I'm not saying like it wasn't like a blowout or anything. I think that's still a toss-up game if it happens. And then hopefully it is. We'd have a lot of fun talking about it, especially with the predictions we just made.
Right.
That'd be a fun game to watch and maybe even live stream if y'all are interested. But
Yeah. Let us know
um,
too if you're interested in that kind of stuff.
yeah, for sure. I'm glad we at least agree on one team. I think if the Bengals beat the Chiefs, I think the Bengals win it all. Like I think there's too much momentum riding in on that, and now Joe Burrow and the Bengals and a lot of the guys on that team have had that experience. The only guy I can really think of off the top of my head for the Lions with that experience is Jared Goff. I know quarterbacks make a big difference, whatever, but I think just the overall team experience would make a difference. St. Brown's still young, Gibbs is young. Montgomery hasn't really been there because he was buried on the Bears roster for a while before going to the Lions. So you have a
Right.
lot of things to think about going into that matchup, and I just have the Bengals coming out on top, which would make for a lot of great conversation with Joe Burrow and Mahomes for years to come.
Yeah, definitely. Although, and you guys can let us know what you think about this too. Even if Joe Burrow wins it all this year, I think he's still got a ways to go before you're in the Mahomes conversation.
I
But
agree, but that could be the modern day Brady and Peyton Manning conversation. Like
yeah,
Peyton Manning
definitely.
didn't win a crap ton of Super Bowls, and Tom Brady did, but
Right.
they still
Right.
consider Manning as a great because
Right.
he got destroyed by Tom Brady most of
Yeah,
the time.
okay. Okay. And as a side note here, for all the people that want to comment on our TikToks and call us trash, Peyton Manning is not a top three QB of all time.
No,
He's not. I don't care what anyone says. Peyton Manning is not a top three QB of all time. So if you continue to comment that on our TikToks, I'm just going to keep liking your comment and not responding because I have nothing left to say.
as
Moving
as
on.
you should, as you should at this
Yeah.
point. Like
Yeah. Okay.
maybe no, nah, I have one more thing to say.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right.
I want you to know that y'all need to look up your own facts before you tell us to look up our own facts. Because saying Peyton Manning is top three and us saying, okay, sure, see ya. Like, you can't just say that. Back it up.
Right.
So please give us something to go off of rather than your trash.
Right. And this is, me being a little bit of a Steelers homer fan, but Peyton Manning is closer to Big Ben than he is top three QB of all time.
I think you're on the money with that.
So anyway, moving on from all of that side rant, we do love the interaction with you guys. Keep commenting, keep liking. We do really appreciate all that stuff. But uh, I do have the Chiefs winning again. It's not surprising from my previous rant that I was just on about having to unseat Patrick Mahomes. I'll give it to you though. If the Bengals do knock them off, I think they go in and they win the game as well against the Lions, just because there's so much momentum from knocking off the Chiefs. But with that, Let's jump into our next set of conversation topics here, Bender. We're going to jump into a WNBA rapid fire segment. This is going to be a lot of fun. And let's just kind of jump right into the first question. If you guys have questions that you'd like to hear one of us answer as well, make sure you let us know in the comments. But Bender, who should win Rookie of the Year?
So if y'all remember in our probably our most viewed video to date, I actually had Angel Reese winning before the All-Star break or right around the All-Star break. Now it's Caitlin Clark because I was able to see that development. I was able to see how things turned out. However, I think that's the easy decision, right? But I want y'all to know, keep making fun of Angel Reese for all those offensive rebounds. I want you to know that even with her getting her own misses, without including that in her stats, she's still leading the league in offensive rebounds per game. So I want y'all to know that. After that, Caitlin Clark. We're just gonna roll with that.
Very nice. Very nice. I think it's our most viewed and our most disliked video, I think,
Yeah.
because because of that
Yeah.
Angel Reese conversation, which was awesome. All right, on to the next question. Who's the best defender in the WNBA right now?
It's Asia Wilson. I also have her as the league's MVP at this point too. She won the last two Defensive Player of the Year awards, and she hasn't slowed down one bit. So, I wouldn't be surprised if she wins that again this year.
Yep, would not be surprising. All right, if you were starting a WNBA franchise, you have to consider age, contracts, whole nine yards. Who would be your number one pick?
Also a great question. There's a lot of elite players. If you would have asked me this 8 to 10 years ago, I probably would have said Tarasi. Considering age, you can't do that anymore.
Right.
Um, just the fact, and now all of a sudden, I know y'all are gonna say I'm gonna switch up really quick, but I'm going with Caitlin Clark just because she knows how to facilitate on top of what she's doing scoring wise. And just being able to get her teammates involved. You want that team player. Whereas like Asia Wilson is like star power. I'm going to get you a bucket and play defense. She's more the equivalent of Kawhi Leonard in a sense compared
Mhm.
to what Caitlin Clark is in like the facilitating aspect. So it's just a preference thing. Y'all might say Asia Wilson. I don't think that's a wrong answer either, but that's just a preference to me.
Yeah, and that age factor, can come into play a little bit there too, right? Because Caitlin Clark, probably has more upside closer to her prime, whereas Asia Wilson, might be reaching that prime right now. It's an interesting conversation. A few years ago, if you would have hit it at the right time, maybe you even answer Brittany Griner to that question, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting how fast things can change.
Yep.
Who is the best rookie of this class besides the two we talk about the most, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark?
So we're going to see this into the future. And you saw it a little bit before injury. Ignoring all of those two, I think Cameron Brink is the best one after that. I think she plays a good role on the team she's with. She was actually showing out before she got hurt.
Right.
That was a sad injury to watch for me personally. Like she was one of my favorite players to watch. She'll make a return. The position she plays, the knee injury won't bother her. Today's medicine, she'll be okay.
Yeah, that's a really good pick, actually. I kind of completely forgot about Cameron Brink because of the injury. She was probably the best rookie until she got hurt.
Yeah, because
Um,
Angel Reese was not there yet, and Caitlin Clark was still figuring it out and having
yeah,
the turnover issues and whatever
yeah,
else.
yeah. She was the best rookie at that time. So, all right, two more questions here, Bender. Who wins it all in the WNBA this year?
It's not a surprising pick, but it might be a little bit of a different pick compared to what some people are saying. I actually have the New York Liberty. I like Brianna Stewart. I still think she's one of the best centers or forwards, whatever you want to call them anymore, in the WNBA. Um, and I just like Sabrina Ionescu as well. Like I
Yeah,
think she's a walking bucket, and I think them as a team and as a whole play really well together.
that combo.
Um, and I think that's actually the best matchup and opponent to beat the Aces,
Yeah.
and Asia Wilson. So that's kind of where I'm at with that in my head. Just who's the best matchup for the Aces because everybody's going to talk about Asia Wilson going into things, but don't forget about the others.
Yep, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I believe the Liberty might actually be the betting favorite right now, uh, going into it. So I'm totally on board there. Who's the most underrated player in the WNBA this year?
I might butcher the name and I apologize, but I actually have Agumbawale as the most underrated player. She's the one that got snubbed from the Olympic team, and then
Agreed.
in the exhibition game ended up just going off on the actual Olympic team. Um, so I know there's only so many spots, but you can't tell me there wasn't any extra room or you couldn't have kicked off a Brittany Griner of the bunch. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I think, the Brittany Griner of the bunch is like the name recognition, right?
Yeah.
Um, and it kind of feels a little bit like a Jalen Brown situation too, which is interesting.
Yeah. I don't like to talk too much about this because I like Brittany Griner as a player and she seems like a good person, but I want to say there may have been a little bit of an excuse to bring her on the team because of the last time she like traveled out of the country, that whole thing with
Yep.
holding her hostage and all that kind of stuff. That
Yep.
maybe was her way to travel the country again. I don't know.
Yeah. And like you said, you don't really want to speak on it because we have no idea, right? Like
Yeah.
we have no idea. It's just all
All
speculation.
assumptions. So I apologize if that
Yeah.
assumption is incorrect.
Yeah, 100%. But it does make you wonder, right? Like I think it's valid to wonder what's going on there. So with that, that's all the WNBA rapid fire questions. Again, let us know in the comments if you'd like to see more of those rapid fires, if there's other questions you'd like Bender and I to answer on any of the leagues we cover. And with that, to wrap up the show, we'll let Bender take it away with Player of the Week.
Yeah, here's where I'm gonna get a little bit riled up. So all I heard last week and honestly the last couple of series was why is this guy like 2 for 22 in his last 22 at bats? Why has he not hit a home run in his last like 60 plus at bats? Well, I tell you what, everybody, Kyle Schwarber was back hitting Schwar bombs, dude. Y'all need to just shut up and let the dude play. Let him play baseball. There's so many ups and downs when it comes to baseball that like if you start talking crap, let it go. Like if they do that for like a 2 month span, I understand. If they do that for like one or two series, it's okay. Like they'll get back to form. It's baseball. They'll work on it. They'll do whatever they got to do. But with that said, going from September 3rd to September 5th, the Phillies played the Toronto Blue Jays. And in that time period, Kyle Schwarber went 8 for 15, four Schwar bombs, home runs, and seven RBIs. And a lot of key wins against the Blue Jays. Exactly. Four Schwar bombs, baby.
Four of them bangs.
I had to throw him on there. Yes, I'm a homer. Yes, I'm a Phillies fan, but I had to throw him on there because I was tired of being on national television, not just the local station, national television talking badly about Kyle Schwarber.
Yeah, I mean, hey, like the player of the week is kind of built for that, right? Like a little bit of a homer, like here is someone that you need to be giving more respect to. So I appreciate it and I respect it. That's another episode of Life in the Stands podcast. Remember to like and subscribe. We appreciate everyone's support. Want to throw out one more thank you for the 1,000 TikTok subs, the 100K likes, and the 250 subscribers on YouTube. Really excited to continue to put out lots of interesting sports stands content, sports from the stands content, something like that, Bender. We talk about all
Or
the sports from the stands, right? So
how
thank everyone
did
again for watching and
you
listening.
were done?
Yeah, I think we're done. All right, we'll see you on the next episode.